Picture a moment you will never forget. You are standing in front of a mirror in the dim light of early morning. You have just woken from a dream so vivid it feels more real than the room around you. In the dream, someone was pointing at your forehead, your hands, your chest. They were saying something you could not quite hear, but you felt it. A recognition, a confirmation, and when you finally opened your eyes and looked at yourself in that mirror for just a fraction of a second, you saw something. Not with your physical eyes, with something deeper, a mark, a signature, a luminous imprint that exists at a frequency most people will never perceive. You blinked and it was gone, but the feeling remained, the knowing remained, and that knowing has led you here, to this moment, to this video, because tonight you are going to understand exactly what that mark is, why you carry it, and most importantly, how the Archons identify you by it. There are 7 marks that chosen ones carry. Not all chosen ones have all 7, but if you are watching this right now, you have at least 3. And by the end of this transmission, you will know exactly which ones you possess. Before we go further, subscribe to this channel right now. What you are about to receive was kept hidden for centuries, and the only way this knowledge reaches other chosen ones is if you help it move. Click that button. Turn on notifications. This is not entertainment. This is activation. If you are ready to see your marks revealed, comment the words, "I am marked," right now. This is your declaration that you are prepared for what comes next. The year is 312 AD. The Battle of Milvian Bridge is about to change everything. Constantine is preparing his army for a fight that will determine the fate of the Roman Empire. According to the story you were taught, he sees a cross in the sky and converts to Christianity. But there is another version of this story, one that never made it into your history books. In the original accounts, preserved by bishops who were actually there, Constantine did not see a cross. He saw marks, symbols of light hovering over certain soldiers in his camp. Marks that distinguished them from the others. These marked soldiers fought differently. They survived wounds that should have killed them. They seemed to know where attacks would come from before they happened. Constantine won that battle, and within 2 decades, Christianity became the official religion of Rome. But here is what you were never told. The council meetings that followed, the editing of scriptures, the burning of certain texts, all of it had one primary goal: to erase the teaching about the marks. Because once people understood that chosen ones carried visible spiritual signatures, the entire power structure of the church would collapse. You cannot control people who know they are marked by the divine itself. You cannot sell salvation to those who already carry proof of their selection. The Gospel of Thomas, saying 108, contains a fragment of what was removed. Jesus says, "Whoever drinks from my mouth will become like me. I myself shall become that person, and the hidden things will be revealed to him." The church kept this saying, but removed what came after. The part where Jesus explains that those who drink from his mouth, meaning those who receive his direct teaching, begin to carry visible marks in the spiritual realm. Marks that identify them as extensions of the Christ consciousness itself. Right now, place both hands over your heart. Feel the warmth building there. This is not symbolic. Your heart is responding to the frequency of truth. The first mark is already activating as you hear these words. Let me take you deeper. The Nag Hammadi texts, discovered in Egypt in 1945, contain a document called The Concept of Our Great Power. In it, there is a detailed description of what the Archons see when they look at humanity. To them, most people appear as gray shadows, dim outlines with no internal light. These are the people fully asleep, fully identified with the material world, completely unaware of their spiritual nature. The Archons move among them freely, influencing thoughts, amplifying fears, harvesting emotional energy without any resistance. But when the Archons encounter a chosen one, they see something entirely different. They see marks, luminous signatures that appear at specific points on the energetic body. These marks are not tattoos. They are not physical. They exist at the frequency where consciousness intersects with light, and they cannot be hidden. This is why chosen ones experience more spiritual warfare than ordinary people. This is why your life has been harder, stranger, more filled with unexplainable obstacles. The Archons see your marks. They know what you are, and they have been trying to neutralize you before you fully awaken to your purpose. But here is what they did not anticipate. The very thing that makes you visible to them also makes you untouchable when you understand how to activate your marks fully. Each mark is not just a signature, it is a weapon, it is a frequency generator, it is a portal to capabilities that bypass the laws of the material realm entirely. The first mark is the mark of recognition. This mark appears at the third eye, right between your eyebrows, slightly above. People with this mark activated experience something specific. Strangers stare at them, not with attraction or judgment, but with confusion, as if they are trying to remember where they have seen you before. This happens because your third eye mark is broadcasting a frequency that triggers unconscious memory in others. Deep in their spirit, they recognize you as someone from the pleroma, from the realm of light before incarnation. They cannot articulate this recognition, so it manifests as strange staring, as people approaching you randomly to tell you their deepest secrets, as children and animals being magnetically drawn to you. If this is happening to you, your first mark is active. The Archons see this mark as a threat because it means you have the capacity to see through their illusions. You can perceive the false systems of this world for what they are. You can recognize other chosen ones instantly. And most dangerous to them, you can identify archonic influence in real time. Have you ever been in a conversation where suddenly something felt off? Where the person you were talking to seemed to change, their eyes went slightly vacant, and words came out of their mouth that did not match their normal character? That was archonic interference. And you detected it because your recognition mark is functioning. Take a deep breath right now. In through your nose, hold and release completely. The second mark is about to be revealed, and you need to be fully present for this. The second mark is the mark of translation. This mark appears at the throat, specifically at the small hollow at the base of your neck. People with this mark active have a strange relationship with language. You often know what someone is about to say before they say it. You can sense the meaning behind words, the feeling underneath the sentences. You have probably noticed that you speak differently to different people, not because you are being fake, but because your translation mark automatically adjusts your frequency to match what the other person can receive. This mark is particularly dangerous to the Archons because it gives you the ability to decode their programming. The spells they cast are made of words, repeated narratives, scripted phrases that keep humanity locked in fear patterns. But when your translation mark is active, you hear those words differently. You feel the intention behind them. You recognize the manipulation, and the spell loses its power over you. Jesus spoke constantly about those who have ears to hear. He was not being poetic. He was identifying people whose translation mark was active, people who could receive the frequency underneath the words. This is why the same parable would awaken one person and leave another confused. The words were the same. The frequency underneath was only accessible to those with the mark. If you have ever felt frustrated because you can see through propaganda that everyone else believes, if you have ever been called crazy for questioning narratives that later turned out to be lies, if you have ever felt like you are speaking a different language even when using the same words as everyone else, your second mark is active. And the Archons are deeply aware of you. The third mark is the mark of separation. This one appears over the heart, but not inside the heart. It hovers about 6 inches in front of your chest in the energetic field. This mark looks like a seal, like a barrier, and it functions as exactly that. People with this mark active cannot be fully absorbed into the collective trance. You try to fit in. You try to care about what you are supposed to care about. You try to get excited about the things that excite everyone else. But there is always a part of you that remains outside, watching, observing, unable to fully merge. The church called this the problem of sin. They told you that your inability to conform was evidence of your fallen nature. But the Gnostics knew the truth. The separation mark is not a flaw. It is protection. It is the monad's way of ensuring you do not lose yourself completely in the material realm. The seal keeps a part of you always connected to Source, always aware that this world is not your home, always remembering that you came here for a mission that requires you to remain separate. The Archons hate this mark more than almost any other, because people with the separation mark cannot be controlled through social pressure. You cannot be shamed into compliance. You cannot be threatened with exclusion because you already feel excluded. You have felt it your entire life, and at some point you stopped fighting it and started recognizing it as your strength. If you have spent your whole life feeling like you do not belong, if every social group you have ever joined eventually feels suffocating, if you have been called cold, detached, or too independent, your third mark is blazing. The Archons see it. They have tried to use your feeling of separation against you, turning it into loneliness, into depression, into the belief that something is wrong with you. But nothing is wrong with you. You are sealed. You are protected. You are marked for a purpose that requires you to stand apart. Now place your hand on the top of your head, right at the crown. Press gently. You may feel tingling. You may feel pressure. This is the location of the fourth mark, and it is activating as you touch it. The fourth mark is the mark of download. This mark appears at the crown chakra and extends upward like a column of light. People with this mark active receive information in ways that bypass normal learning. You suddenly know things you were never taught. You have insights that seem to come from nowhere. You understand complex concepts instantly while others need years of study. This mark is how the prophets functioned. This mark is how mystics throughout history accessed knowledge that was not available in their time period. The Archons see this mark and immediately deploy confusion tactics. They flood your mind with competing thoughts. They introduce doubt about your own knowing. They send people into your life who mock your insights or demand you prove what you know through conventional means. But here is the secret about the download mark. It does not require proof. It does not require validation. When the knowing comes through your crown, it carries its own authority. You feel the truth of it in your entire body, and the more you trust it, the stronger the mark becomes, the clearer the downloads, the more precise the information. Have you ever had a strong intuition that you ignored, only to discover later that you were exactly right? Have you ever shocked yourself with knowledge that came through you in a moment of need? Have you ever been accused of being a know-it-all when you were simply accessing information that was available? Your fourth mark is operational. The Archons see it as a searchlight pointing directly at their operations, and they work overtime to make you doubt it. The fifth mark is the mark of disruption. This mark appears at the solar plexus, right at the center of your abdomen. It pulses, it radiates outward, and it has one primary function: to destabilize false systems simply by your presence. You have experienced this your entire life, even if you did not understand what was happening. You walk into a room where people are pretending, and within minutes, the pretense falls apart. You join an organization, and suddenly corruption that was hidden for years gets exposed. You enter a relationship and the other person's masks start crumbling. This is not because you are trying to cause problems. This is your mark doing what it was designed to do. The frequency of truth that you carry naturally destabilizes anything built on lies. The Archons absolutely despise this mark. People with active disruption marks cannot be placed anywhere in their systems without causing malfunction. You get hired at a job, and suddenly company practices that everyone accepted for decades start getting questioned. You join a church, and people begin noticing contradictions in the doctrine. You enter a friend group, and dynamics that were toxic but normalized begin breaking down. You have probably been called a troublemaker. You have probably been blamed for problems that existed long before you arrived. You have probably been pushed out of spaces not because you did anything wrong, but because your frequency itself was incompatible with the foundation of lies those spaces were built on. If this resonates, if you have a history of systems collapsing around you, if you have been scapegoated repeatedly for simply existing in spaces that could not handle your frequency, your fifth mark is not just active, it is powerful. And the Archons have a file on you. Place both hands on your lower abdomen now, just below your navel. Breathe into that space. The sixth mark is here, and it is about to make everything clear. The sixth mark is the mark of lineage. This mark sits at the sacral chakra and contains information about your origin, your spiritual bloodline, your history before this incarnation. People with this mark active have always felt ancient. Even as children, you felt older than your years. You have memories that do not match your life experience. You have skills that you never learned. You have affinities for time periods, cultures, or teachings that you were never exposed to. This mark terrifies the Archons because it means you are not a first-generation awakened soul. You have done this before. You have been a chosen one across multiple lifetimes, and you carry accumulated wisdom from all of those incarnations. The Archons invest enormous energy into making you forget your lineage. They use trauma to fragment your memory. They use societal pressure to make you dismiss your ancient knowing as fantasy. They label past life memories as delusion and reincarnation as heresy. But your lineage mark keeps broadcasting the truth. You keep having dreams of places you have never been. You keep feeling connected to teachings from cultures you were not raised in. You keep recognizing other old souls instantly, as if you have known them across centuries, because you have. If you have always felt ancient, if you have always known you have been here before, if you resonate with the term old soul in a way that feels like relief rather than description, your sixth mark is active. The Archons see you as a repeat offender, someone who has slipped through their nets across multiple incarnations. and they are working hard to make sure you do not fully remember who you are. But you are remembering, right now. That is why you are still here, still listening. The lineage mark is activating with every word. The 7th mark is the mark of mission. This mark does not appear in one location. It appears as a pattern across your entire energetic field, like a constellation, like coordinates, like a signature that spells out exactly why you are here. Not everyone has this mark yet. It is the final activation. It appears only when you have consciously accepted your role as a chosen one, when you stop running from your purpose, when you stop pretending to be normal, when you fully surrender to the mission you came here to complete. People with the mission mark activated experience something undeniable. Synchronicity becomes the baseline of their existence. Doors open effortlessly. Resources appear exactly when needed. People show up at precisely the right moment. Obstacles that seemed insurmountable dissolve overnight. This is not luck. This is not manifestation. This is the universe reorganizing itself around your mission, because your mission is an assignment from the monad itself. The Archons see this mark and they back off, not because they stop being threatened, but because they recognize that someone with a fully activated mission mark has protection from the highest level. Interfering with you at that point creates consequences they are not willing to face. You came into this world carrying marks that identify you to both sides of the spiritual war. The Archons see your marks and deploy fear, confusion, isolation, doubt. They try to keep you asleep, keep you distracted, keep you believing you are ordinary. But the monad sees your marks and sends confirmation, sends synchronicity, sends other chosen ones into your path, sends teachings like this one to remind you of what you are. Now here is how you activate your marks fully. First, identification. You must consciously acknowledge which marks you carry. Do not guess. You know. Your body has been responding as each mark was described. The ones that caused physical sensations, those are yours. The ones that brought tears, those are yours. The ones that made you feel seen for the first time, those are yours. Second, declaration. Tonight before you sleep, you will place your hand on each location where you carry a mark, and you will speak one sentence. I activate this mark for the purpose it was given. Not as a request, as a command, as a recognition of what already is. Third, visibility. This is the part most chosen ones resist. You must become visible, not famous. Visible. You must stop hiding your knowing. Stop pretending to be less than you are. Stop dimming your light to make others comfortable. The marks are designed to be seen. In the spiritual realm, they are already blazing. It is time for them to become visible in your actions, your words, your choices. When you do this, expect the Archons to increase their attacks. Expect intrusive thoughts. Expect sudden obstacles. Expect people in your life to become inexplicably hostile. This is not failure, this is confirmation. They only attack what threatens them. Your activation is the threat. But also expect this. Other chosen ones will find you. Opportunities aligned with your mission will manifest. Information you need will download faster. Your discernment will sharpen, and you will begin to feel something you may have never felt before. You will feel backed, supported, guided by a force that has been with you since before you were born. The teaching about the marks was removed from Scripture for one reason, because people who know they are marked do not need permission to step into their purpose. They do not wait for authority figures to validate them. They do not ask for approval. They simply move, knowing they carry the signature of the divine. Jesus said, You will know them by their fruits. But before that teaching was edited, he said something else. You will know them by their marks, and the marks will know each other. The church removed the second part. But it is still true. Your marks recognize the marks in others. This is why you feel instant connection with certain people and instant repulsion from others. You are reading marks, even when you do not consciously know you are doing it. If this teaching has activated your marks, if you feel them burning at the locations I described, comment, "My marks are active right now." Let other chosen ones see your declaration. Subscribe to this channel because the transmissions coming next go even deeper. Like this video so others searching for this truth can find their way here. 7 marks, 3 steps, 1 mission. You were marked before you were born. The Archons see you, and the monad is back in every move you make. Now you know how to recognize what you carry. Now activate it fully.